Hi guys, I'm Joe.
And I'm Viv.
And we live in Poland, and Poland is not the most LGBTQ friendly place.
Yes.
So one question we get
All the time
is, why are we here? How did we even ended up being here? So
why do we continue to live here
and not move somewhere else?
Yeah.
Since I can't be on our daughter's birth certificate, and we couldn't register our marriage because it's not recognized here, etc., etc. So
yeah,
this video is gonna tell you a little story about how we ended up being here and
why we stay here.
we choose to continue to be here for now.
So let's just start at the beginning. I think there's a lot of curiosity about this. Also because I'm Portuguese, so people assume like it's either Portugal or Poland, and why don't we live in Portugal and
yeah.
why do we choose to live in Poland? It's like a big why? And I do understand that because Portugal is way prettier, better. But actually I don't think living there is better than living in Poland, and I can go in a little bit more detail later on in the video, but first we wanted to share how we ended up living here.
I think for the context, if you don't know us, I'm Polish, so my family isn't here, so it wasn't like a random
thought
let's just go to Poland out of all places. But the story begins in 2020 when COVID hit and the whole world was flipped upside down.
And we did live in London back then.
At that time. We were both working, I was studying at the time, and the COVID began and no one really knew
what was going to happen. And at some point, we did stay in London for a few months, but at some point I did lose my job, and Joe also stopped going to the university, things completely stopped, so there was actually no reason for us to be
I was
there.
I was studying remotely.
Yeah,
through
so
my
she
laptop.
didn't have to go to the university.
I worked remotely at the time as well.
So there was no real reason for us to stay there. It's a really expensive city, and me without having a job, and even though I would be looking, and I'm sure find something, but it would probably not be in my area of work. And
being very young people in London on entry-level
hard.
jobs, we were already struggling as it was. So when we lost a job, we knew that we could continue. She would definitely find something, and we could try to survive this. But we knew it's not gonna come easy, and it's gonna be very difficult for us to progress with that.
We would probably have to spend all the money we have and downsize our house. There was a lot of things that needed to happen, and in the same month that I was laid off, they kind of let me go because of the COVID. That was also the month that our lease for the apartment was coming to an end, so we would either renew our lease for another year or we would move out. So that was kind of a universe timing, really, because if it was literally a week after, we probably would have already had signed the contract to stay. So
we were already decided that we're gonna renew, we just didn't have the time to sign the contract yet. So
exactly, we didn't know that this was going to happen. We did have a possibility that it might happen, but also at the time we didn't know the state of the COVID, the whole situation. We didn't know if it was going to progress.
No one thought that
knew.
It would.
Yeah.
We were coming from a perspective knowing that this will pass in a few weeks and everything will go back to normal. So for us, we had this amazing idea that instead of using all of our savings to
stay there,
survive in London, we will just go travel to Poland, visit my parents for a month or two, and then just use those same savings to travel a little bit around, because we were sure that in a month or two
things would go,
something will be open.
Become a little more normal. Obviously it didn't, but we did end up moving to Poland. We thought it would be nice to stay for a moment, because obviously living in London, Joe didn't have time with her family so much in those years. So it was just a nice, and I think we went to, in the summer, we went to Portugal as well for a month. So we were just trying to, you know, travel a little bit and see our families, and you know, we would decide our life later
because
on.
I would also in the meantime finish my university, so that would be like a perfect time to kind of sit down, think while traveling, where do we want to go next, and you know, settle down for a moment. So we ended up in Poland for a few months, and as you already know, no spoiler alerts here, COVID didn't just magically go away like we were all expecting. So we just kind of like ended up pushing it, you know, let's decide next month, let's see what happens with COVID, because we had no idea what to do, because no one knew what's gonna happen with COVID. In the meantime, we bought a house in here under a mortgage.
First, we have to say that Jo actually could keep her job. She just kind of changed the position that she was in. So
my company is international,
remotely.
So they hired me to work in the Polish division remotely.
Not yet. First, it was in the UK. So first, she was just having another job remotely, but in the same company, and that was okay because we didn't know that we was going to go back to London or not. So they kept her for the UK offices, and
just for a moment though.
For a moment, but it was for a few months. And you know, we just knew that probably they would keep her in another position after that contract expired. So we were kind of safe with that. That Jo did have a job. I didn't look for a job for some time.
Because we didn't think we're gonna be here for much longer, so that was kind of pointless.
But at some point, Jo started to look for houses, because we were living with her parents, and we were already a little bit like to state that we really needed our space. So we just like started looking at houses and see if it would be possible even for an investment or something like that.
I think the initial plan was that we, you know, take it under mortgage, and then we stay here for a moment before we figure out where we go, and when we move out, we will just rent it and have it as like a side source of income. It's always good to have a place to stay.
And I don't know if you know, but in Poland it's way cheaper to buy a house than in London, for example. We can't even compare that really.
Like a house costs the down payment of London
a house in London. So
it was way more possible when we came from London, you know, when we've been earning money in London, you know, to come here and do that. So it wouldn't have been possible in London, but we did that.
So, but we did that, and at some point we started to actually like imagine what if we stayed living here, and
it was still in the middle of COVID, because that was still 2020 or beginning 2021
already.
It was still like the middle of COVID still, and we had no idea what we're supposed to do.
Things
when
were
COVID
still closed,
was happening.
so we couldn't even go like anywhere. We went to Mexico, which was the only thing open, I guess, only country that was open, and it was amazing, but it was like on a holiday kind of style. And at this point I decided to look for a job, because I thought even if we are not going to live here forever, we will stay here. So it would
be good, like some extra money to renovate our house. So we just thought it might be good.
It was good. Kind of surprising when I did find a job really quick, and
that's very surprising because Vi doesn't speak Polish, and the city we're in is like a smaller city of Poland, and the possibility to find a job in your field of study in English is like close to zero. So the fact that she just found a job like in few weeks from when she started searching kind of felt like a sign as well.
Yeah, it felt like a sign, and we were like, oh, okay, like, so this is possible. Me working here is possible. So
we both ended up with
two jobs.
Both of us. And a house that we did this huge mistake of renovating it. We bought it like in development state, so it was bare walls, but we decorated it like our dream house, like exactly how we would love to have it ourselves. So as you can imagine, when we finished, we were like, well, now we have to stay here, now. This is our place.
We really like, it's an apartment, first of all, it's not a house, but it's our home and we really like it. It's the perfect size for us and our baby at the moment, and we got a little bit attached to it. And also like going back to London, the thinking of it and all the struggle that we love London as a city, but it was very busy for us. It was very like going and running and
we had time for absolutely nothing.
We didn't have time for ourselves. We couldn't even have a baby. That would be out of the question.
So this is when we started to think, look, we both have a job, we have a safe space to stay, our
we were
own
closer
house.
to family, which is always nice, you know, especially if you lived in London the last few years and you didn't have any family. So it just felt nice. I'm not gonna lie, in the first months it was a little bit hard for me, the language and everyone talking in Polish and not understanding anything, and obviously I don't speak Polish, but I do understand most of it now, so I don't feel that, you know, outside anymore. And it was hard because it's quite cold in here. It's like a very low chill life. It's not as busy as in London, but that makes it
feel like a huge upgrade for our quality of life compared to what we had in London. So we did get comfortable with it. We can drive in here, something we couldn't do in London. Everything is literally so close. People complain that like half an hour is a long time, but after you lived in London and you need like 1.5 hours to get
go somewhere,
anywhere really, you know, half an hour is just like next door. You know, I can go there at any point.
It's close. It's a short time,
short trip.
So we just got comfortable. We like living in here. We think the cost of living and what you have at the end of the month, your savings are way higher than in London, even though you earn much less in Poland, but your expenses are also less. And so
even with the crazy inflation we had in Poland,
with the inflation now,
right now people do complain about it a lot, but in comparison,
it is big, but
in comparison to like the same things we had in London, we were struggling so much more there.
And it is way better here. The life is way easier here
for us.
This is our experience.
Our story.
Our story in London was also, it started a little bit low, so we didn't have much. It was like very, very low. So for us here is like, we're good, we're comfortable. And then obviously at some point the prospect of having a baby was also very nice to have.
We always wanted to have a baby, and we always wanted to have it before she was 30. That's a thing that her grandma told her about, and she always told me, if you want to have a baby, we have to have the first one before I'm 30. V is 29 at the moment.
I'm 29. And I always wanted also to have a baby while we were living closer to some family, and this was the perfect time. So that's why we kind of ended up staying here. Why don't we live in Portugal? Why won't we move? So basically I have way less family than Joe. My mom just passed away last year, my grandpa as well, so I have way less family. I have my uncles and I have my stepdad, which is for me my dad, but we have like a very independent life from each other, and you know, we love each other very much, but it is a smaller family and I would have their support, but I just feel like, you know, I I'm good on my own with Joe, and
the chances of me getting a job in Portugal
would be
even
way
lower.
lower.
We finding job
also,
here.
I come from a little bit of a more messier, darker childhood than Joe, so it's more complicated in my family, to be completely honest with you. Maybe I will talk about it in another video if you guys want to know, but yeah, it was a little bit more complicated, and it's just not a, you know, normal family. What's even that? But so that's one of the reasons, and I do feel like Joe's family, obviously no family is perfect, but Joe's family is like quite standard, and they are very supportive of us, and so we thought that having Ivy growing up in that kind of sort of family would be better.
Yeah, where we live, she also has like a lot of space outside to, you know, run and explore.
That's kind of
safely.
one of the reasons of the Portugal thing.
Yeah.
The other reason is that Portugal is very, very bad right now for young adults and young people to live on their own, to have even, you know, I know things from my friends that I have there, I know from the news, from everything, that it's not easy there for people who are Portuguese and live there. It's a great country to go and like have holidays, and for tourists I'm sure it's amazing, and it's a beautiful, amazing country, but it's not good for people that
I
live
think
there.
the ratio, because the average salaries are very similar to the Polish ones, but everything is so much more expensive.
The rent now is a big issue right now in Portugal. Everything is so expensive, and our salaries there are not that high, and I don't think we would have such an amazing life there as we have here. So that's
and we now have to think about our third little person,
our daughter. So that's the other reason why we don't go to Portugal. And the third reason is I have to tell you guys, every time I go to Portugal, something bad happens.
That is true.
Like, I'm even afraid of going, because I want to go and I want to see my family.
Last time, like months before we went to Portugal, we kept telling me that she has bad vibes about this trip.
I had a feeling, you know, and I was pregnant. I had a feeling, and turns out my mom just passed away like a day before I arrived. I didn't even get to see her. Like, it's absolutely crazy. And then every time I got COVID.
Yeah, after 2 years of us never getting COVID, we both got COVID in Portugal.
2 days after it happened with my mom, I got COVID, and I was pregnant, and it was so hot, and the whole trip wasn't like amazing. So always something like happens to me there, or I don't have good memories of it. So it's not like a country that I like to go to be honest. It's
so
nothing.
As a disclaimer, I would like to say it's not because of me. Like, people assume that I don't know, I stuck V in Poland and I don't want to be. I love Portugal. I like literally buy us all
Portugal.
the tickets to go there. It's always from my initiative.
Yeah, she's the one who like makes us go there. So please don't blame her for that. She's always afraid you're gonna like think it's because of her, and it's not, okay? It's not. I don't want to live there, at least not now.
Also,
maybe
just
one
so you
day.
know, if he doesn't want to do something, no one
it's
will make
impossible.
her. So
you will not make me do it.
it's not up to me anyways.
No. So that's a little bit about our story, why we live in Poland. And disclaimer, I do like the snow. I do like living in Poland. It is a bit cold, but I got used to it.
Except for the lack of rights for LGBTQ
Yeah, we like
individuals. So that's the only thing that really sucks, and we would love it to change, but we don't want it to be the reason.
The lack of beach.
Yeah, the lack of beach.
Yeah.
But
other than that, we love being here, and I'm not saying we're gonna be here forever, probably not,
because we cannot exist without the beach.
But for now we stay here, and that's it. I hope you like this video. It's already so long, so if you like it.
But that's such a complex answer that it's very difficult for us to be answering it in like a story or a post, because there's just so many aspects that have led us to be here and stay here at the moment. So I feel like we forgot.
People are so curious about it, and I don't understand why.
I think it's also, I know this is a long video, but I have to mention that I feel like those comments often also come from people that never moved countries. It's not that easy. Not everyone can just take everything and go. You have to think about getting a job, renting a flat, the fact that you're gonna be away from everyone and everything you know. We already twice moved countries. I moved it twice, but back to Poland, so it doesn't really count. It's very difficult to move countries. It's not something you just take and do. You can't go anywhere, like we can't go to Italy, neither of us speaks Italian, you know, like
it's not the same as just going for holidays or even spending a long time somewhere, moving, being away from what you know.
All the English speaking countries require visas, which is another tricky part, so it's not that easy, even if we wanted to. It's not always that. We
really want to move one day somewhere, but we would have to really like the place.
We're already experienced, so I feel like we're just gonna go and move, but this is just to raise awareness. If you want to ask other people, it's not always just as simple.
It's not
everyone can just go.
So it would be, you know, in practice it would be simple to just move and have all those rights, but it's not that simple to just move and find a job and all that. It's not. So
another thing I wanted to mention, when we lived in London, we used all of our holidays just to visit our families.
This is
something that we really loved about Poland. We can use our holidays to go on holidays, and this is very
I'm not
important.
going to Portugal ever again. Joking, I will go
now
for my family.
Ask his family to visit us instead.
No, I'm not going to. I was always like, the other years I was always like, no, don't waste your time coming here, because I will go to Portugal and I like to go to the beach and stuff, but no, not anymore.
So I think that's most of the aspects. Our baby is crying,
so we have to go.
Have a magical day. Bye.